Thank you for joining us. Just would like to kind of let our viewers know that if you like what's on our channel, please like, subscribe, and share. The only way for us to continue doing these podcasts is to get more visibility, and the more visibility we get, the easier it will be for us to continue doing these, to put this information out there for everyone. So thank you for supporting our channel, and have a great day. And as always, see you on the next gig. Welcome back to another episode of Some Old AV Guy. My name's Eric. On today's show, we have Deangelo Poole from the DMV market. Welcome.
Morning, welcome. Thank you for having me.
You got it. Absolutely. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about how you got into the business, what you primarily do?
I'm like, well, here we go, right? No one kind of knows my true origin. You know what I'm saying? It's a story that's really never been told. You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of why I even took the opportunity to really do this.
Sure.
So look, I haven't really been in the AV game that long, but I've had as everyone knows, I've had a lot of success in a very short amount of time. I actually started working in the AV game after the pandemic in 2022. But I'm someone that kind of is a quick learner. I've always been a great, even before I did AV, I was always like a good money maker and like things of that nature. So once I kind of compared AV to once I put all my other skills that I have into AV, it kind of put me on a fast track, basically.
Yeah.
So basically, I started off in 2022. I work for a company called TechCon out of Washington, D.C., owned by Kerwin Cotton. And that's where I initially got into the game. And then after that, basically, I worked with them for maybe about 7-8 months. And then, we had that season right after July where everything kind of dries up. And I always tell everyone I came into the AV game kind of spoiled because Kerwin Cotton, he pays every week, which I ended up learning later on is not the norm.
Correct.
In our game. So I always say I kind of came from AV royalty because I never knew about Net 30 or anything like that. But basically for about 7-8 months, I'm consistently, making great checks, making great money, or what I think is great money. And then, everything dried up in July. And then I kind of was like, well, damn, what am I going to do? You know what I'm saying? Everything's been going great for so long. What am I going to do? And then I thought about it. I talked to a friend of mine. He was kind of well, he's not the only game in town. And then, that's when my wheels kind of started working. And then I'll also say this, I kind of had an upper hand on people because the people that brought me into AV, they had already been doing AV 10, 12 years, and they had went to school for it as well. So, everyone in the DMV area probably knows Jeffrey Lee, you know what I'm saying? And people like that, they had already been doing it for 10 years. So I kind of had an up on it. And then I'm someone that was always making music, producing things of that nature. So I kind of had a nice feel for audio initially, and then, I always say sound is king in AV, so there's not going to be a show if you don't have any sound.
Yeah.
So basically, I rose pretty quickly. I was one of the guys, I wasn't really doing GAV very, very long. I probably, that's why I'm kind of still bad at it. But basically, I was doing A1 shifts in 90 days type stuff. I was doing V1 shifts in 6 months. So I rose very, very fast and very, very quickly. And then when things dried up, I was like, hey, well, he can't be the only other game in town. It's got to be AV everywhere, all over the country, right? So then I started just reaching out to people and getting on the road and traveling. I used to go to places and say that I lived there, and I really didn't even live there, just to make the connection, just to get the opportunity, and just to like work, just to continue like working, because I kind of feel like it can be an all year around thing if you got the hustle in you, so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know guys that are work up in Philly, New York, and all that, and then during the winter months they go down to
Nigga.
Florida.
Sad. That sounds like Rob. That sounds like Rob. Yeah, exactly what it is. I work in New York and I work in Miami, and that's it.
Yeah.
But basically after that, I kind of when I started traveling, I started putting crews together and bringing people with me. One to bring down the cost of, like, who wants to spend $600 on a hotel. Well, I can bring in another guy. It could be $300.
Yeah.
But then that became like, when people didn't have work and things, and they would be like, "Hey, well, I know that you got a lot of work out of town. I partner up with you." So it used to be like, I used to be taking caravans of people to like Kentucky and Ohio, and places where we're in the DMV market. So of course, I'll say like we work a lot more because we come from a bigger market. So we could go to these smaller markets because we have a little bit more talent
Mm.
and kind of clean up. So I used to be taking like 6, 7 guys with me at one time. And then sometimes guys wouldn't have the like money. I would like front them the like money. And I'd be like, "Hey, when you get paid, just like let me, get a little bit, pay me back," type stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Then that became like, I met a guy named Luis Sanchez from Crescent Events. Actually, damn, Eric, I think you put me on that show. That's crazy. Okay, yeah, Eric. You also have a very large part to do with my AV success as well. I can someone that can attest to that, because when I started working with William, which kind of, you kind of was like, "Hey, Deangelo can,
Yeah.
you sent me on some gigs out of town, and like kind of gave me a little bit of opportunity as well." And then with the William Signal, I feel like they had markets everywhere, so I contacted all the coordinators everywhere, and I'd be like, "I'm coming. I don't need per diem. I don't need travel." I feel like when you first getting into this game, you kind of have to like pay your dues just to get the experience and just to get the network. And I was someone that would go a little further, than what people would go, so
Yeah.
that's how so from that, I started coordinating. People needed people, and I said, "Hey, I could coordinate." And then I started Capital AV at the beginning, Capital Standard AV at the beginning of 2023.
Nice.
And when I started doing that, that's when everything kind of changed, basically.
So you had mentioned that an important factor of your success has been your hustle.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
would you say, and I can relate to that. I have quite an extensive AV background,
Oh, I already know. Yeah.
working for other AV companies. But then when I went over to do freelance work, yes, I had some connections, but I still had to hustle because without that, I might have 4 or 5 gigs a year and that's it, and that's not enough to live on. So, what would you say to somebody trying to get into the business that has some experience or used to work for an AV company like Encore or whatever and want to do freelance? What would you say is a good recommendation for them as far as the hustle is concerned? Like, give me little specifics how you.
Well, first off, no one can hire you if they don't know you exist. That's the very first thing.
Exactly.
You have to make yourself known. You have to make yourself, and you have to make your skills known as well. And you can never stop searching. Like literally, I feel some type of way when I don't look at my email, or if I don't look at a Facebook message. I got a guy that I've been waiting to text me back for 2 days now. For 2 days now. And you have to make yourself visible. Most time people, if you're not on their mind or in their sight, they're not gonna pick you. They're not gonna look for you. And then also, I'll give somebody some real game too. You have to be the fastest.
Yeah.
Then I think that's something that separate me from most people. Now I know everyone here has been on the Facebook groups, right? there isn't a post made on the Facebook groups that I don't know about.
Yeah.
There is no, and that's any of them. I follow about, if you can go on my groups on my Facebook page. I got about 30 of them. I got about 30 of them that I like following. Anything that's going on in the country where someone needs help or someone needs new opportunity, I'm kind of on it if I can get to it, you know. But you have to be fast, you had to be quick, and you always had to be looking, always had to be searching. And I kind of feel like people don't put enough hustle into just looking for the work. And then sometimes I also say you have to be willing to do some things that people do not want to do.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And that's just paying dues. And you're going to go through, like, I still pay dues all the time. I got, but, we kind of, coming from the DMV market, everybody's like a little bougie up here. Everybody thinks, oh, I don't take half days, or, oh, I won't take 35 an hour, or, oh, I don't push, or I
Yeah.
don't do strikes,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
things like that. I always tell people all the time, how are you going to expect someone to take you on the road and pay you 50, 60, $70 an hour when you can't even stay calm at home and do the simple things? You have to do the things that are going to make you desirable. You
Absolutely.
have to be on time. I tell people all the time, I come now. I know today I was on time, but I should have been early. But I come 15, 20 minutes before. That gives you a chance to associate yourself with leadership, because leadership is going to be there earlier, and that already puts you in the hemisphere that you want to be in.
That's
And
so true.
so you had to do the small things. Like, I shouldn't have to say, hey, no logos. Hey, wear a belt. Hey, bring some tools. You have to do things that make yourself a real technician. And, you got to really make it like AV is your career. When I really first got into AV, I was enamored with it. Like, you can ask my wife, because she literally was like, every time I come in the house, you're watching the YouTube, you're reading a book, you're like, every time, like, I'd be up. Like, when I really first like started, what I did, right? Every property that I went to, right?
Mhm.
I would take a picture of all the equipment that they would use. And I would go home and I would YouTube the equipment. So when I showed up to that property, I knew how to use it. And I would study it like every night. Every night I found like certain teachers. And if I didn't know something, I would ask somebody. And then you got to take the opportunity that gives you more. Some people don't want to take the opportunity that gives them more. They find just doing what they do. Some people, they don't even try. They be
Yeah.
scared to even try.
No,
You
I hear you. I hear you, man. Because
got to put yourself there.
there's two great points that you made. One was, putting in the work, specifically with like a new client. Anytime I work with a new client, I'll kind of go over and above what I would normally do, just because of the fact that I want to make a good impression with that client. And then the other thing is, uh, make, doing things to make yourself stand out. And something that you had mentioned was like the Facebook groups. There's sometimes that I will see um, a a potential client, or even a client that I already work with, looking for a specific thing in an area that I don't work, but I know guys in the area, and I'll chime in
And
on
I
there and
pass it to
say,
guys all the time. Yeah.
"Yep," because the thing is even though they're not looking for you, if they know that you're a good tool that they can reach out to you, that, like you said, keeps your mind. Holy cow! That keeps your name in their mind.
And I will say a quick little nugget for my people that live in the DMV market. At some point in time, every AV company comes to the DMV. I don't care who they are. They're going to come to Washington, D.C. They're going to come to Northern Virginia. They're going to come to Baltimore. They're going to come and they're going to do a show.
Mhm.
Every company that I have worked for outside of the DMV, when they came home, I mean, when they came here and they thought about DC, they would think about me. because when I get out on the road, I'm like, yeah, I'm from the DMV market, such and such, such and such. Yep. And then they would remember that. So when they would come back, they'd be like, oh, let me get Deangelo. I know that he knows some guys because these people, they need extra help all the time. People love to hire local help because, they don't like to pay for flights. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so they'll, so it's kind of, that's just a little nugget. When you come back, stay in touch with these people, and then it's always good just to continue to communicate and stay in touch with people all the time. Like a quick little text, you don't know what that quick little text just saying hi will do,
Hmm.
because the next time something comes up, it comes to mind. You'll be like, oh, I just texted such and such 2 days ago, and and I know that they do that, so
He will go, what's going on, man? Do you not love me anymore? And and I'm like, I've just been so busy. I totally,
yeah.
it's you really have to take the
It's
time.
a busy lifestyle, like
It is.
literally, like it's like a busy lifestyle. Just like I was telling you to like day, like I'm waking up, I'm doing the podcast with you. I gotta go to Baltimore and then do a strike. Then I gotta go to the airport and go to Atlanta, and then I got to gig down there for 3 days. Then I come back. I have 1 day rest on like Saturday, and then I got like another 4 day show. So and it'd be hard to text people. I barely talk
Yeah.
to family members because it's when you're working crazy 10, 12 hour days and then you like traveling and like things like that, it's very hard. But I try to stay in contact with everybody as much as I possibly can, just to let them know that, hey, it's like a whole lot of love there, so
Oh, yeah.
things of that nature. So
Now, have you, being still fresh in the industry, have you had any people not knowing you or not knowing your work ethic or any of those things? Have you had any struggle with that, trying to overcome that impression?
yeah, but I feel like you should. Well, Michael Jordan always used to say, like, whenever I go play, it's someone there that's never seen me play in person before. So they had to get familiar with my game. I had to. Now, I wouldn't say that I've had a lot of issues. What's kind of crazy is this: I feel like I've had more issues with that here in Washington D.C. more so than on the road and things. On the
Yep.
road, it's never really been like that. Actually, it's always been like a lot of love. And then like once you really show people that you know what you're doing, and then me, it's a little bit different. Even though I've worked like I've only worked for, maybe 3 or like 4 years, I've had a lot of like live show experience because like how I like told you, I didn't really do like GAV for like a very long time. I got
Yep.
thrown right into the showroom. And then I tell people all the time, being a good A2 for that will get you right on the showroom floor. Being a good A2 or being a good camera op, that'll get you on the showroom floor. And then from there, you can learn the other jobs and you could eventually be the A1, be the B1 because you're in the room with them. So you're getting all the same show experience as well. Nothing will teach you like live show experience. I tell people all the time, like you could read all the books, you could tech it, you could ask about it, but nothing will teach you like that live show experience. And I got so much experiences to pull from because I'm the guy that used to just fly from one city to another city,
Hmm.
just doing corporate AV, and it just wouldn't stop. Listen, man, I had some nights, man. I ain't gonna hold you. I'll tell you something real. I had this one night. I was in Dallas, right, for 2 weeks. I had 4 shows. This is like at the beginning, right? Did not have a lot of money. Did not have a lot of money. It was like the time we're in now, like that February time,
Yeah.
like no one has any work, and I was still like very young in the game, but I needed this money. Like I said, yo, I got 4 shows in Dallas that are like 70 straight. Now I think I paid like for my hotel with like afterpay or like a firm, and then after Christmas, everybody's pockets is getting killed anyway and all that.
Sure, sure.
And I think like I had probably had like $1,000, yo. And I was like, man, it's the last $1,000 I got. But then I got another call for another show in Las Vegas that was like 6 days. And I was like, yo, all I got is $1,000. But I'm like, yo, I got 5 shows, which is, what I'm saying, pretty nice amount of money. I had this one night, yo. I stayed in like Dallas, yo. I slept in like a parking lot. I slept in like a parking lot just to say because they was killing me for like $1.60 like every night for the hotel. And I
Yeah,
was like, yo, but once I put like the numbers to like together, I said, okay, I'm gonna end up spending this $1,000. I'm gonna make like 8, 9 grand if I could just survive through it. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
now I will say this: once you do start to see some money, I tell people all the time, I split my checks into fours. All right, one is for taxes, one is like for me, one is for bills, and the other half is for, and the other quarter is for investments, basically.
Hmm.
And you have to, one, invest, continue to work your money, buy equipment, take classes to be better, things of that nature. Put away money for traveling. Now I've gotten to the point like, I have a business credit card. I can just put everything on my travel, and things of that nature on that. And you have to do things to protect your actual money once you do get it, because the decline is going to come. It comes every time, every year, unless you're really, really out there working. The December, January, February months are going to come. Things are going to be slow. You have to do your bills, do your budget, and be prepared for that. I say that's something that you also helped me with, Eric,
Yeah.
because we sat down and we had a conversation, and you were like, Deangelo, you're making all this money. You should be doing this, this, and that. You know what I'm saying? Because at the time, I was making a whole lot of money, but I was spending a whole lot too.
Yeah.
And that kind of was like setting me back. So once I just did like, so I was like, okay, I'm making great money on these shows, but what I have to do is, one, I have to make my profit margin a little better by just decreasing my spending and staying disciplined. Like the AV life is great. Everyone knows we make a lot of money and things of that nature. But I see techs all the time, like just blow through their money as they're
Oh God,
getting
yeah.
it, as they're getting it.
Yeah.
And then you already know, as a labor coordinator, I get calls all the time. Hey, do you have any work? What's going on? This or that. My phone getting turned off, and I'm like, hey, why aren't you like saving your money when you get it? I've had sometimes where my strategy is always to get 4 shows at every month, right? But so if I do 4 shows in a month, one of those shows, that money from that show is getting saved. It's getting put away,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
do the same. I do the same. So if I work 4 shows in a month, whatever one of those shows is going towards at least the next couple of months' bills. That way, come December, January, February, I've got money saved up or
And
I've
it's not
already
and it's not
prepaid
no
my,
no crazy pressure, you know?
yeah. Yeah.
There's no crazy pressure to like get sure. This is why this year I was able to take a vacation on my birthday instead of working. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
because my birthday is like around when like AV kind of like starts back up, like the end of like January. But I
Hmm.
was like, this year I was like, you know what? I'm doing okay. Let me, enjoy my life a little bit. I feel like if you do everything you're supposed to do from February to November, December and January, you should be living like a king, yeah. I'm trying to tell you, because
Yeah.
because I watch a lot of the older guys, the guys that's doing AV, they're like 50, 60 years old, been in the game like 20 years. Those guys, those I never see those guys worry about work ever. I
No.
never see those guys worry about work. I never see them like stressed. They're all just like, oh, December, January, but these are the guys that I listen to. They said down to me, hey, December, January, you should be have 10, 20 grand saved up, and you should be getting ready to pay your taxes and enjoying your 2 months off. It can be a very, very great life. It's just you have to just put in the work. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So anything
So,
else that you want to ask me?
so being out on travel shows,
Mhm.
what would you say was the, most interesting show that you worked on or most dangerous situation that someone was putting the show in. What I mean by that is I've noticed that some younger guys, inexperienced, will do things that could possibly be dangerous. Get somebody could get hurt, or you know, I've even seen how I was on a show last year in New York City, and pot's legal up there, and they were out smoking during their lunch, and then they came in, and things could have been dangerous, but thank goodness they were put on, pipe and drape, so it didn't really matter. But
Yeah, that's fine. Not necessarily me on the road, not necessarily a technician, but I do have a story where a client made things very dangerous
mm,
after not listening to the technicians. So basically, I did a show in Columbia, South Carolina at the I think it's like at the Hilton Head, and basically, it's kind of funny. This is my first show being technical director for this company. Guy had sent me out there with all the like equipment, gave me a budget to hire some local hands. I had a V1 that I had travel with me. We get out to South Carolina. We set up the show. Everything's perfect. It's for a company called I forgot what they was called, like Putos or something like that. They were like a bakery company from like Texas or like something like that. So I'm doing well with the client. Everything's set up. I'm doing the audio. Audio's good, ready to go. My guy got the video. We set the whole room up. Everything's smooth. The hands, I hired some hands that drove down from Charlotte, North Carolina. These guys, they were great. I wish I could find them again. I keep trying to find the guy. It's one guy. It's a Arabian dude. He brought 4 dudes with him. I'm trying to tell you, these dudes were great. Like they were like the best JVs I ever had. I always try to call him back, but he never like answers the damn phone. Real shit. But if you watching this video, them GAVs from Charlotte, they was great. All right, right? So show's about to start. It's like 9 a.m., right? Well, it's gonna start at 9 a.m. It's about 8:47, right? I see one of the like they always have like a client liaison type person. She went and she plugged her laptop into the dimmer switch of the trust. So I see it one time, right? I go over there, I unplug the laptop, wrap it up to I bring it back. I say, hey, don't don't do that. It could fry your laptop, Like I said, there's another way, I said, she's like, is there anywhere else that I could plug it? I said, honestly, right now, we always get asked for plugs, chargers, things of that nature. I'm in show mode. I'm technical directing. This is my first time.
yeah.
Like I said, nah, I really don't know what I could do for you. Went back to it, right? Second time, right? I look in the corner of my eyes about 5-6 minutes later. It's the second time. She's going and putting her laptop in the dimmer switch. I said, okay. All right. Okay. I said, all right. Went, got the laptop, brought it back to her. I said, sweetheart, please do not put your laptop in the dimmer switch. You can damage it. All right, cool. So I get back to it. At this point, it's 8:57. Show is about to start.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
basically gonna bring up. I'm one of those guys when I do A1. At the time it says on the sheet is when I'm starting everything. It is 8:58. 8:58. I'm talking to my V1. I'm talking to the client. We're going down like slides and getting things ready for PowerPoint, all that type stuff. I'm locked in. Live shows about to start. Out of the corner of my eye, who do I see walking towards walking towards the damn trust? The same lady. I said, you have to be kidding me. I turn around to start walking over there to like basically stop her, right? She plugs it in, the entire floor goes out. I said, you have to be kidding me.
Mm.
Entire floor goes out. I said, of course, my first show being the technical director, this has to happen. So, first of all, I like, okay, let me go talk to engineering. I said, show's going to start, talk to my client, say, we're going to need like 15 minutes. So talk to engineering. It's going to, basically take like a little while to fix this. Make a long thing short. We got the show started. It was about 17, 18 minutes behind. Show went off without a breeze. It was very good. But that lady laptop, it definitely got destroyed. Her laptop got destroyed, and she tried to bill me for it.
Yeah, right.
She did. Yep, I got an invoice and everything. She tried to bill me for it, and I told her that I would not pay for it because I told you 3 times to not do that. So that was a situation. Okay, now you said unsafe and what else? Well, interesting. Now I'll say this.
Yeah, what was the most interesting show you've worked on? Like what?
I don't think I have a top one because it's been so many shows.
Sure.
But I will say this. The day that Hamas basically set the thing up with Israel,
mm-hmm.
I was in Oklahoma doing the Prophecy Watchers convention. Do you know anything about the Prophecy Watchers? Okay.
I don't, but I can imagine.
So the Prophecy Watchers, they're like one of the last extreme church groups. They believe that, like, Jesus is going to come back. He's going to set the world on fire. The prophecy is like coming at any like time, like any day now. But they're like extremists. They also like they like don't believe black people are going to heaven. They're going to like want to kill the gays and the Jews and things of that nature. So, but I still took the money. It didn't matter. It was what it was. I still took the money. They were paying in like 2 weeks. Me, when people pay fast, I'll be right there. I don't even give them. I'm like, oh, you're paying 2 weeks, and they told me this. They was like, yeah, might be some racism, things of that nature. Like, are you still comfortable coming out here? I said I'll be right out there in Oklahoma, and so I get out there. And they're talking about like, the Israelites and Jesus is coming back and all this. And then they had this one dude that was basically like going through all the angels, and he had like all these crazy pictures and all this other just wild stuff. And then like I said, that's when they declared war against Israel. And they thought that this was like, so when that happened, they was like, this is it. They was like, this is it. This is it.
Yeah.
So they literally changed the entire show. They sounded like a big alarm. Everyone from all the other rooms had to come to the main room, and they had to break down and talk about it. And they had to stay in the room for like they stayed in the room for like 2 days, yo. 2 days, because they thought like Jesus was like coming. And what's crazy is, it was some of the easiest money ever because my room got canceled. So I just got to basically sit there for free in Oklahoma for 2 days. I say, yo, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So that was one of the more interesting ones.
Yeah.
What else?
So I actually have a question because you brought it up. Mm-hmm. Being as though you've only been in the industry about 4 years now, mm-hmm. How has racism played a part in your getting gigs, working on shows? Obviously, you're busy, so it doesn't seem like it plays that much of a part. But obviously, or I would assume that it's still there in some way.
I might. There's good and bad people everywhere. You already know that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of feel like I'm 35, right? So like anyone that's like my age and down, they're like the hip hop generation, even up to like 40 at like this point. They're like the hip hop generation. So they're kind of like assimilated with like black people. So and we're kind of more, the guard is kind of changing now. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of not experiencing that as much. But of course, you will go through some things like that. But one, I'll say this: I work in Washington D.C., which is mostly black people, so we're not the minority here. Now, some other places, when you go other places, it will be different. And of course, you will like have like little issues, but I feel like you have to like progress through all that. And then at the end of the day, like I do my best to show people who I am and not so. So when they see me, they see Deangelo. They don't necessarily see like, of course, I'm a black man, but they don't necessarily see a black man. They see a good person. And
Yeah,
then honestly, I also say this the best companies that I have worked for, they have people from all creeds, colors, everything. Creeds,
yeah.
colors, gender,
Religions.
um,
Yep.
sexuality,
Yep.
all that. So because I even had like people, that I necessarily wouldn't even be that I necessarily wouldn't be friends with or like be around. But because of the AV experience and the AV family, you able to, and I also feel like AV will just broaden if you're someone that hasn't done a lot of traveling or you haven't done a lot of just contact with different people, different groups of life, it will broaden your horizons. You will really see some really cool stuff. You will meet some really cool people. I've met some really cool people that I probably would have never crossed if I didn't do what I do, So
Absolutely. I,
I
I
love it.
completely agree with you.
But I
And
feel like the best teams and the best companies I've seen, they have people from all walks of life. And I feel like as far as me and my personal experience, yes, I've had some I had some like run-ins with some guys that clearly questioned my ability and my skill because I was a black man, of course, for sure. Yeah, for sure, definitely.
yeah.
I had a guy that I did a show here at home in Washington D.C. The company was from Nashville. The A1 literally had me do the whole setup, but then he fired me because I didn't have a laptop. But and then he made his like friend the A2, like basically they said I somehow was able to come back and do the strike with a different company, very very random. That's how much I'm in the game, right? I actually got kicked off the show as the A2 because I didn't have a laptop, but I was able to get my way back in because I had a connection to do the strike with another company, right? So I came back, did the strike, and so they fired me, right? And then they sent him another African American gentleman, and he somehow got fired too. That's all I gotta say. He somehow got fired too, and then they brought him a gentleman that was Caucasian, and he somehow made it through, and it wasn't no issues. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna
No, I
I'm
think I
I'm
think
leaving
j-
at that.
I I completely agree. And I think that, it's going to be everywhere. It's not going to disappear. But I
Yeah,
would say comparatively to other industries, um, our industry, the AV industry, is the most um, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's the most it's the biggest industry that will bring people in no matter who they are or what they
facts.
are,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
definitely for sure.
is because of the fact that in its simplest form, we're in the entertainment industry, right?
Yep, definitely.
And you can't be in the entertainment industry and not have someone who is gay or someone who's African American, or for instance, I've got tattoos and plugs in my ears, and there's certain shows that I can't work on just because of that.
Just,
But at the same token, that doesn't limit my shows. It just means that there's higher end corporate stuff that I don't
yep.
work on.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think race should be a issue that you don't work on higher or corporate end shows. Or,
Correct.
now, but I've never been told. Now, I will say this: I've had a coordinator of my race tell me that my hair should be done differently or I should cut my beard low. But I've never had anyone that was Caucasian or of a different race be like, "Hey, I don't like your hair for this show," or "Hey, you should cut your beard for this show," or anything like
Yeah.
that. I've never gone to anything like that.
Yeah.
And I've been very, very fortunate, so. And I will say this, what I know about AV is AV people, we are all broken people. No matter where you came from, no matter where you where I don't matter where you came from. We are anyone that works in this industry, we are all broken people. We are broken in some way.
Yeah.
All of us. From the guy that you think is the like classiest guy to the GAV guy that you think's gonna rob you afterwards.
I
We
completely
are all
agree.
broke. If it's something is somebody got something going on. That's what I've like noticed about everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, you know.
I know of a client who, and when I say client, in this instance, I mean like the end client.
Mhm.
I know of a story of an end client who it was his last show. He got a little too drunk with the AV guys at after the show was over with, and security had to wheel him up to his room on a bell cart.
Wow.
And you're right. We're all we're all broken in some sort of way, but at the same token, the one thing that I've learned, and this is comes from my military background, when you're in, even if it's a church, right?
Mhm.
If you're in some sort of fellowship, you have a tendency to always look out for your own. And I've noticed that in the AV business, that even though we're all a little off in some way, there is a camaraderie and a family sense
Definitely, for
that
sure.
if some other area comes into our space, we look out for our own.
Definitely, definitely. And I look out for anyone. Think about this, even when like I'm out of town on the road, when it's like AV people, we know each other. We see each other. We see those. That's why that show Black, we see that show Black. We see that Pelican case. We like, hey,
Yep.
that's like one of ours. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's like you can just tell. And like everywhere I go, I really say we are a family for sure. And that's why I really try to do as best I can by my AV brothers and
Yeah, yeah.
sisters for sure, for sure. But we very, very tight knit for sure. And out here in a DC, it's really small. It's like it's like really small. Everyone knows each other. It isn't a soul. That's why that's kind of why I also kind of like it. Like no one can kind of get away with anything, because
Yeah.
it's like we kind of all police ourselves. And it's
Hmm.
like if you do anything wrong, oh, we gonna know. We gonna know. We gonna know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
gonna know, and that's why it be people like, oh, I know not to work with this person because
Yep.
word they got around
It's
that, things of that nature.
it's kind of a double-edged sword where, if you're someone who always helps out, if you're someone who is very knowledgeable, if you're like someone who knows a whole lot but is a nice guy to work with on a show. For instance, there's a guy, Kevin Seeger. I love working
Oh,
with him.
I love me some Kevin Seeger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, he's so damn knowledgeable, bro. It's like,
Exactly, exactly. But then the flip side of that, like you were just saying, there's some guys not to work with. It's just, we're kind of like, it's almost like a high school thing where, somebody really screws up on a show, everybody knows about it.
oh Lord, yeah. I will say this about AV this year in Washington D.C. I don't know about anywhere else, but it do seem like it seemed like the older guys are like coming together and they trying to push out all of the riffraff. I will say that it seemed it because I've really seen like who's getting shows this year and who's not. And I tell people all the time, one, you can't hoard yourself out and work for everybody, because that kind of devalues you anyway, because you have
Correct.
no type of exclusivity, you have no type of loyalty. And then two, and then also that's how you overbook yourself as well, which is a mistake I used to make when I was in the game. Like, oh well, this shift ends at 3, but this shift starts at 4. If I could get off like an hour early, I can double dip, double book. trying to chase that money. Nah, do not do that. I tell people all the time, do not do that. You're gonna mess yourself up and you're gonna create bad relationships. People aren't gonna hire you.
So the one thing that I noticed that not everybody realizes, you had mentioned that keeping your reputation good,
Mm.
and there are shows, and if you do enough research on the show you're about to work on, you should know this already. But
Always.
there are shows that are annual shows, and they don't go to the same city every year. And if you can get a good enough reputation, and become familiar with your client and build a relationship, then the next year, when let's say it's in Denver, Colorado, they're going to go, hey, Deangelo, we really need
We
you to
did that
come out
same
to this
show
show.
last year. Yep.
Yep. And then the next year, and then the next year, and then the next year. So there are guys that I know of, and I'm friends with, that they book their shows sometimes a couple years out because they already know next year it's going to be in Philadelphia, and I'm just going to put the dates, rough dates, because usually conferences will shift a little bit. But yeah, I mean it's a good thing to don't look at the show as in, well, I don't like this person that's working on this show, and it's okay, I'll just get another one
Yeah,
to go
especially
in its
if
spot.
it's a very, very big show. These shows are annual.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I got some shows that I did last year that I know I will be there for this year. Like literally last year, they was like, "Well, next year we're gonna be here." Like,
Hmm.
all right, like I got a show I did in San Diego last year. It's called ALA. It's like the Association of like Librarians and all that other stuff. I did their show in San Diego last year. They already put me on the board for Philadelphia this year because,
Nice.
different city. Now I want to travel as far, but it's the same show, and annual is always good. Just like that big TRB show every they do at the in DC at the beginning of the year. Some people have
Yep.
been working that show 10 years.
Exactly. And then there's also some shows that come to the same place every year. But
Yep.
for instance, I have one in November that goes to New York City to the Hilton, where Luigi shot,
Mhm.
and that that show comes to that hotel every single year at the
Every
same
year,
time.
guaranteed money, and people, and then even the banquet people and the people that run the like hotel, they know those people for years, So
Yeah.
yeah, annual is always good. That's something that I've kind of noticed in an AV. Now, of course, everyone likes their little one offs and things like that, but if you can get a ongoing situation, and that's another tip I guess we'll hand out as well. If you can get something that's an ongoing situation, oh, you will always have money. As a freelancer, oh, you will always have
Yeah.
money. So
Absolutely. So thank you, D'Angelo, for showing up today, and we'll see everybody on the next gig.
all right, thank you. I appreciate it.